Will the market crash in 2021? Or are people just telling us the sky is falling, the sky is falling?
Run for your lives! Everyone run for cover!
Today, we're removing all of the hype and looking strictly at the facts. I'm Rich Sparks. Let's get started. I'm Rich Sparks, and welcome to the Rich Sparks Real Estate Show, where we're just cutting through all the hype and just getting to the facts, because people need good information. And you definitely want to stick around to the end, where I pull out my crystal ball and tell you what I think. Now, keep in mind, I'm an associate broker for Keller Williams Realty. I've been in the business for over 20 years, so I was there full time through the entire 2008 crash, leading up to it. And at the end, I'm going to share during that crystal ball time what I seen then, what I see now, what's similar, and what's different. So I thought I would just quickly clarify, since it is 2021, what exactly a fact is.
A fact is a statement that is known or proven to be true. An opinion is a statement of belief or judgment about something.
All right, let's get started. Right off the bat, we're going to look at the chief economist for Freddie Mac, Sam Cater, and let's look at what he has to say. Since reaching a low point in January, mortgage rates have risen by more than 30 basis points, and the impact on purchase demand has been noticeable. While purchases activity remains high, it has cooled over the last few weeks and is currently on par with early March prior to the pandemic. Okay, that sounds really scary. And maybe on a national level or in certain little markets, that might very well be true. But I have a network of top agents that we refer business back and forth throughout the entire country, and we're just not seeing that. Keep in mind, the interest rate he's talking about and how it ticked up, it went from, oh my gosh, I can't believe this interest rate, to, wow, this is a fantastic interest rate. So I don't think there's been a huge change. There has been some impact on people's debt-to-earning ratios, their buying power, but minuscule at best. I mean, check out this graph. We're at a point where we're still lower than last year. And last year, everyone was talking about what fantastic interest rates and unbelievable. So I think he's overblowing that quite a bit. And I'm just not seeing it in a local market. I'm not seeing it long term. I am not seeing it. So I'm going to have to disagree with him on that. Now, the next thing I'm hearing is about the bubble and how it's like 2008. And I'm telling you right now, it is nothing like 2008. They talk a lot about, well, all of the forbearances, all the people that starting this pandemic went on a forbearance. And when all that inventory comes on the market, it's going to cause prices to crash. Here's the reality of the situation. Over 50% of the people who took a forbearance have already paid it back in full. 33% have worked out a repayment plan, but there's still over 15% that is in trouble and possibly could lose their home, which would be terrible. Now, that 15% equates out to about 325,000 homes throughout the entire U.S. And trust me, back in the day when people were really losing their houses and I was doing short sales for them, we were doing bank owns, and people were filing bankruptcy, it was horrible. There was nothing worse. And I feel for these people. But let's look at that impact. If all 325,000 of those folks went into foreclosure, which quite frankly they wouldn't, and we'll talk about that in a minute, so stick around. But if all those houses came on the market today, what would be the impact? Let's check that out. This graph is from Altus Research, which is a very high-end real estate research company. So if you look at this graph here, even if all of those properties came on the market today, our inventory level would still be below last year, which was an all-time low inventory level. So What that would mean is that instead of getting 26 offers on your property, you might only get 4 or 5. It would actually be a good thing to see that type of influx of inventory into our market, but it's not going to happen that way. I think 90% of what we're hearing out there is strictly hype, and I hate for people to make a decision because I know folks that are saying, well, I'm going to wait to purchase. And I understand that. If you feel there's uncertainty, you have to always do what's best for you and your family. But don't base it on bad data, because I see these agents on YouTube setting up there going, I remember 2008, and it's exactly the same. It's nowhere near the same. And stick around. I'm going to show you why it's not anything near the same as last time. Hey, I've got some really exciting news for you. We just came out with our spring free e-guides. We have 3. One is things to consider when selling your home. This is a 19-page booklet we've put together. We're offering out for free to folks. If you're thinking about selling, regardless of where you're at in the nation, and also if you're thinking about buying. Now, the last publication, which is kind of cool, we're putting out right now, is the Millennial Guide to Homeownership. Hey, I remember when we purchased our first home, my wife and I, we didn't have a clue. We were fresh out of college. We had a real estate agent that, let's say, was less than stellar. And every home we went in, he'd bash us over the head that you're not serious. Why aren't you taking care of your wife and buying this house? And I know a lot about construction. I would look at him and say, because it's a piece of junk. But help yourself get that free publication below. Hope you get good information on it. There are a lot of folks that would like to sell their home, move up to a bigger home, or even downsize. The problem is, if they sell their home and they can't find a new home because competition is so heavy, then they become homeless, and that's scary for anyone. Now, the second problem to that is if the seller needs to sell the home prior to buying a new home, it's called a contingency offer. So we've been working with a lender, and we have a new program that's going to be coming out that'll allow folks to purchase a home, secure it before selling their old home. And if that's something that interests you, hey, hit me up in the comments below, or I'll tell you what, I'll put a link to my email below. Reach out to us, let us know. Let's see, we'll put you together with the right people and see if you qualify. So now let's look at the differences of leading up to 2008 and right now. Right off the bat, mortgages are totally different. Back in 2008, 2005, 6, 7, they were doing the craziest loans you ever seen. One was no doc loans. If you were self-employed, you could say, hey, you know what? I make $1.2 million a year, and I have no debt. Give me a loan. And the banks were going, okay, here you go. The second thing they were doing is they would do what's called seller seconds, allowing, hey, you can't afford this with our loan, so do this, and then the seller will give you a secondary loan. Or subprime loans, where the debt-earning ratios were really, really high, and basically it was like, look, we're going to put you in this introductory interest rate, lowering your payment for that first year so it fits into your debt-to-earning ratios. But later on, we're going to raise that sucker up, 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 because everyone had the concept that the housing market will just continue to increase forever. Right now, we're seeing anywhere from, I think average nationally is right around 7.88%. So it's still a very hot market, but it's not as crazy as it was then. So it's totally different. The buyer of today is a much, much better buyer than they were back in 2008. So not the same. The second thing that's totally different from 2008 till now is back then, people were using their homes like an ATM machine. I remember going back, I had sold a house to a fellow for the family for about $140,000. They asked me to come look and put it back on the market. They were ready to move. It was about 5 years later. I went in, And I'm looking at this house. It's worth right around $190 now. So $50,000 in equity that they should have had sitting there. And as I look at how much they owed $200,000. And when I looked at him, I said, hey, just out of curiosity, where did this 60 grand go? He goes, well, Rich, we put it in the house. And I'm looking around and I'm thinking, I don't see it. Is it maybe hidden in a wall? I don't know. And I said, well, what did you do? He goes, oh, like we put in a new electrical box. Okay, that's at that time was about $2,500. Where's the rest of it? Well, unfortunately, that property would not sell for the new price because they had sucked all that money out. It did end up going into foreclosure. So I know the mantra for the longest time has been, it was all due to those Evo banks. Yes, in part it was, but in part, we have to take responsibility for our own actions. Please don't use your house as an ATM machine. In the long run, it's not going to work out. So that is a huge difference from then to now. Now, here's something that's going on right now to push that hype and to get people to click and get people to watch. But a recent article I saw from, I believe it's called Real Deal, is Americans use their homes like ATMs like last year. We have never seen this type of withdrawal of equity since just prior to the 2008 crash. Now, here's the big difference. We have a lot more equity in our home than we did last year or 2008. Check this out. So dollar amount, it seems like a lot of money that was drawn out, and where they're using that money, I don't know. I know I had a client just call me this week and saying, hey, someone called me to do a HELOC, home equity line of credit, to take money out because the economy is going to crash. That way we'll have that money sitting there. I don't necessarily think that's a great idea. I did tell them, look, set up a HELOC. That way you do have an emergency fund. Monitor it. And if they start talking about restrictions or closing out that HELOC, home equity line of credit, then maybe withdraw a little bit. But financially, they didn't need to do it. The difference between back leading up to 2008 and today is they were pulling out equity up to the point of 110% of the home's value. Okay? Now, right now, nearly 60% of all homeowners in the U.S. have up to 60% equity in their house. So that leads back to, let's go step back to the beginning. When those folks were talking about, oh, all these people that went on forbearance, they're all going to flood the market. They're all going to be foreclosed on and go through the bank process. Well, we have a lot more equity. Why would they go through that? And matter of fact, if you did take that forbearance because it was the best thing for you and your family, I totally understand. If that bill is coming due and you cannot afford to do that, please do not go through the foreclosure process and let the bank suck away all your equity and you end up with anything. Reach out to us. I've done this for years. I did a ton of short sales, a ton of bank owns. I know the process. I can hook you up. I don't care where you're at in the country. I don't want to see you lose your equity. Reach out to us. We'll hook you up with an agent, guide you through it. There's no cost for this. I just don't want to see you lose your equity. The last big difference from 2008 and now is back in 2008, guys, it was a buyer's market. Now it is an extreme seller's market. Look at this chart. You can see the differences as night and day. So what happened was there was a lot of inventory. So we had supply and demand. What happens? We all remember economics in high school. I think I attended that day. If you have high supply and low demand, pricing goes down. As the pricing goes down, people lost their equity. Now we have very low supply and very high demand. So we're seeing that pricing go up. So totally different. So let's get out my crystal ball. Now, whatever I said here today is based on what I've seen as being the facts of the time and giving you my honest opinion, not so that you click, not so that I can scare you, but just to tell you that this is how I see the situation. Hey, I'm Rich Sparks. Don't miss our next video. We're going to be looking at some different ways to prepare your home for sale and how to get top dollar on your house in this crazy market. And one of them is real simple. I can't stand it when I hear someone say, I sold my house in 1 day. A little part of me breaks, and I'll tell you why. So make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching, and have a great day. Bye-bye.